Goblins! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Utopian Revolt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm excited to be back with another episode of Geeks and Goblins. We're going to be mixing it up a little bit today, so excited to see how that goes. How about you, sir? How about you, OG Goblin?
I am good. I am battling a headache and either an AK-47 or fireworks. As it is with this time of year, it is always hard to determine, but we are live here in the middle of either a war ground or happiness. One or the other, to be determined. If you see me duck at any point during the stream, just be aware that I am fine. I am just scared.
Oh, gee. Hey, what if it's both, though? What if it's like a war ground of happiness? You never know.
That's usually what the 4th of July turns into at some point, really. I mean, like, I love how, by the way, I'm just like, I think that was the first time people have told me before, like, oh, dude, you should get into the news because you have that voice. And I think that was the very first time in my life where I actually kind of felt that after thinking about what I just said. It was just so spot on, I think. We're here live at Geeks and Goblins. It's either a war zone or it's a pure revelment down the street. We've got firecrackers, we've got AK-47s, but we are all right. Back to you, Utopian Revolt. Like, I'm really digging the vibe right now.
Right. Hey, I think you can pull it off, man. I really do.
Hey, look, if this doesn't work out, I can probably just try to get into regular news. You never know.
Listen, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna get into news. I'm going to run for public office, and then I will be bribing you for positive news. Like that, we both profit. How about that?
No, remind me to delete this VOD from YouTube for the future, so that we know what's popping. We know what's going on. Jesus Christ. Otherwise, I think everything's good. As Utopian Revolt said, we're going to be doing something a little different today. As you can see in the title screen, we don't really have a direction for this particular episode. We're going to cover the usual. We're going to hit off our weekly roundup. Then, of course, we're going to do our obligatory review of Miss Marvel, episode 4. We're on, right? Episode 4?
Yes.
And after that, we're just going to talk.
Yeah.
Talk.
Why not?
Why not? Talk about some stuff.
Hey, man, listen, anytime we have discussions, I think people want to hear because it's always entertaining. Always.
People have not told us otherwise, right? No
Right.
one's yet. We've yet to get like, hey, those guys, that weekly roundup, that shit's stupid. All right, I think
man.
I've just confirmed that it's fireworks, just really quickly.
Nice. Is it just a visual confirmation?
No, verbal. I mean, auditory.
Okay.
Either that or it was a bomb. Either way, one of the things. Just complete sidebar. We're not going to go into it too much because it's really just more of an entertainment topic at this point, despite how not entertaining it is. It just is so weird that we're living in a time where I am genuinely trying to figure out if those are either fireworks or fireworks, if you know what I mean. So, never thought I'd live in that time, but the world, you never know what it's gonna throw at you. But
it gets crazier by the day, man.
By the day, we'll see what happens. But I digress. Let's get into the fun stuff. Let's get into the escape. Let's go ahead and start off that weekly round up, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
I think I will kick it off for us this time around. To begin, Valorant is planning to monitor voice chat. Tests are beginning next month. I'm not opposed to that. I kind of like the way that sounds. We've talked about it last week on Geeks and Goblins about, gaming culture. And, that's something that I asked the question is, at what level does the publisher or the developer, have to start taking responsibility or start, like, taking some action into that area. And I think it's so funny that we just talked about it. And here it is.
Yeah, I think that Riot must be fans of the show because it was a pretty quick turnaround. Just a couple days after that episode, I was seeing that in my feed. I'm like, this is very interesting. I wonder how it's gonna take shape, how they're even going to be doing something like that, whether it's going to be like machine learning and artificial intelligence, or if it's going to be completely manual. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think this has been done yet. I might be wrong. So all eyes on Valorant, I guess, because it might be the future of moderation on multiplayer games.
Absolutely, and just so there's some clarification, just I'm going to read an excerpt here from the article. Wright said this testing period, only taking place in North America and in English, will be used to help train our language models and get the tech in a good enough place for a beta launch later this year. Continuing, only once the technology is working effectively will Riot launch the official beta and begin evaluating players' voice chat following reports of disruptive behavior. So definitely something that is going to be used going forward, I think, to kind of curb that behavior.
If this leads to multiplayer lobbies of Modern Warfare no longer having children saying that they've done inappropriate stuff to my mother, I'm all for it.
Is it gaming without that? Is it gaming without that? I'm not sure. Utopia Revolt, take us on to the next topic.
All right, so I'm going to completely butcher this pronunciation, so apologies. But the first images of Namor appear in Black Panther 2 promotional material. And does he look glorious?
Oh, the Submariner lives. The Submariner lives. I'm so hyped for that, dude. I'm so freaking hyped for that. I do want to admittedly say it very well might actually be with a grain of salt. We're not entirely sure. From my understanding, that it is all the way legitimate. But right now, we have no reason not to believe that, it has been long rumored that he is going to be in Black Panther. This is not the first leak. We actually got a leak that is similar to the image that came out. So this more or less confirms that. But so far, everything that we've gotten on that end seems to be on track with him being in the film.
So, at this point, what's your hype level for Black Panther 2?
For a lot of reasons, I'm going to say a 10, because if the Namor the Submariner rumor is true, that means should I tease the audience with what the world is telling us about what Black Panther 2 should be? I don't want to ruin anybody's time, but I'm going to do it. From everything that seems to be coming out, from everything we've been getting, this very well means that Doctor Doom will be coming to the MCU. That, with a few other things that came out this week, just to piggyback off of this topic, Howard Stern leaked that he is, by accident, he leaked that he is contributing to something relating to Doctor Doom for the MCU. So, I think Vic is going to finally be making his presence known.
I think this. I mean, of course, a lot of it is speculation and just trying to fit in different puzzle pieces from different sources. But it just does seem like it's all going to culminate into San Diego Comic-Con. I think we might get an announcement of the next phase of the MCU there.
Oh, you said the words and they hit me like a brick, and I'm like so excited for San Diego Comic-Con. It does not make sense how excited I am for that now. Oh my god. If anyone wants to go check that out, you can literally just search Namor and the image should pop up. Go to Namor, Google Images, it'll pop up, or news, you'll see exactly what we're referring to. The man looks dope. Moving on to our next topic, Blizzard confirms Overwatch 2 will replace its predecessor. Now, if I remember correctly, they said that wasn't going to happen initially. They said that it would not be replacing the original Overwatch. So I'm pretty sure that's some pretty hefty backtracking on Blizzard's end.
Yeah, I recall that also myself. I remember them saying that both of them are going to be coexisting. But I think now with Overwatch 2 being confirmed as a free-to-play title, it kind of just sealed the deal for the original Overwatch. People are not going to be playing that as much anymore. I mean, all the maps and all the heroes are going to be coming over to Overwatch 2. So, I mean, there's no real point to keep it alive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess it's okay. I just hope Overwatch 2 is strong enough as a game, you say that name in some circles, the first thing you're going to hear is Dead on Arrival.
Hmm.
So, well, I guess we'll end up seeing. I know I'm going to be picking it up, especially since it's going to be free to play. Whether or not I'll be picking up the battle pass is a completely separate story, but I will be picking it up.
At least they're going to get rid of the loot boxes. I think that's a positive step. I wouldn't be upset to have more games moving to the battle pass direction, replacing loot boxes, because at least you know what you're going to get instead of just RNG. You know what I'm saying?
True, 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 true. Although I'm not gonna lie, I did like getting completely raged when I got absolutely nothing through a loot box in Overwatch. There was no feeling like it, if you ask me.
Oh my God. Moving on. This is some news that I think a lot of people have been waiting for. Persona fans are finally going to be able to play Persona. What do I mean by that? So, Persona 3, 4, and 5 are also coming to Nintendo Switch, as previously announced that it's going to be coming to Game Pass and also to PS5. But it just feels like Nintendo Switch owners have been clamoring for any sort of Persona other than Strikers for a very long time, and it seems like they will finally be appeased with Persona 5 being the first to arrive this October.
Oof, man, I'm looking forward to getting back into some Persona action, man.
Hmm.
I remember picking up, I believe it was 4, living with my old roommates, and I never got a chance to finish 4. And the same is said about 5. I never got a chance to finish 5, so it's a franchise that I wouldn't mind digging back into. So this is exciting for everybody. It should be anyway. Maybe it'll breathe some new life into the franchise.
I originally purchased the original copy for PS4 and played 40 hours of that. It quickly became one of my favorite games of all time, but I only left off with 40 hours. And then I picked up Persona 5 Royal for the PS5 and haven't touched it. And I'm going to be double dipping on the Nintendo Switch because I feel like this type of game is made for the portability of the Switch, if that makes any sense.
No, no, it 100% makes sense. 100% makes sense. Oh, like, ugh, do I want to play it again on this? Yeah, I'll play it again on the Switch. I think that's a big thing for me. I think that was kind of a big point why I never actually completed it. Like
Mm-hmm.
some games, I just wish I could take on the go and play, and Persona 5 definitely gives off that. Persona period kind of just gives off that vibe. So we'll see what happens.
Listen, I just recently upgraded my Switch Lite to a Switch OLED, and I've been
Ew.
playing a lot of Xenoblade Chronicles. Um, that little console
Ew.
is custom made for RPGs, especially JRPGs.
Yeah, 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 sure. Switch OLED. Switch OLED. My favorite console. Well, I got words for you, sir. Uh, and finally, as part of the weekly roundup, just in time for Thor: Love and Thunder, Jane Foster has been added to the Marvel's Avengers lineup. Square Enix's SquareSoft, I forget which one actually made it. Marvel's Avengers lineup. From my understanding, from the reception, it appears that she is more or less a carbon copy of Thor, which is
Yep.
very disappointing. Very, very disappointing.
I think at this point, this game has kind of like been reduced into a MCU marketing machine like type of game. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
just we got two different versions of Hawkeye. And listen, I love Hawkeye and all that, but come on, it just feels like any characters we're going to be getting from here on out is just going to be carbon copies. And it's a shame because when Marvel Avengers first got announced, I was really excited about it. It seemed like Square Enix was putting a lot of their resources into this game, and they did, but it fucking flopped. The campaign was really cool though. The 10-hour single player story that they had, it was amazing. But all the end game, very grindy, like games as a service type of stuff, it did not work for Avengers. It really didn't. And I'm extra salty about that because Avengers flopping the way it did led to Guardians of the Galaxy underperforming with sales, and that just makes me really sad.
Yeah, I feel like the game could have been so much more. Gotta really wonder exactly what happened there. I'm pretty sure if you look into it, the paper trail is obvious. I'm sure the paper trail is obvious. But as big as a machine as the MCU is, you would imagine that if they were to take up this property and actually adapt it into a strong video game, you should not be able to stop it. But I think I think maybe live service was the wrong take.
Mm-hmm.
Was definitely the
Mm-hmm.
wrong take. Give me multiplayer co-op game, sure, 4 players max, and feed me new characters every now and then. But I do find it odd that besides Black Panther, all of the additional characters that we've gotten and that were supposedly rumored to get, short of Spider-Man, are pretty much just characters that are already in the game. With Hawkeye, then you get Hawkgirl, and if I remember correctly, Hawkgirl came out first before Hawkeye
I
came out, or did they come out
I
simultaneously?
crap. Now you raise an interesting question. I think Clint came before. I don't know. I don't know. That's
Well,
how little I've been paying attention to the game since it came out.
either way, and then we got Jane Foster, and of course we've got Black Panther and we've got Spider-Man, but Black Panther also was the only one that came out with his own like strong story edition. He was a strong DLC, and then of course the next rumored character, in line with everything happening with the MC right now, is She-Hulk. She-Hulk is the next rumored character, and presumably she will play like the Hulk. So, I think it's very weird for them to want to support this service with carbon copy characters when they could potentially give us more unique characters. We could have had a
Bro.
Moon Knight by now, We could
Doctor
have had
Strange, man.
Doctor Strange by now. So I think it's very odd, their release window for these DLC characters. But hey, who am I to judge? I don't get paid the big bucks to make these decisions. We're just two lowly guys with a podcast here on the interwebs who don't know any better. Who are we to say don't release carbon copies of characters in a video game that nobody plays? Who are we to say don't do something that would potentially draw people to your platform and maybe make that money you spent on it, a little worth something, Who are we to say that this game is dog water and they should stop supporting it and maybe come back together and rethink things? Who are we to say these terrible, terrible things?
Man, listen. Once the Goblin Gang Studios starts coming on, we will finally be able to make those decisions for ourselves. But we are not quite there yet. Some very interesting news that I wanted to attach to this, if you will.
Please.
The writer, I forget her name. I should have been more prepared for this.
Amanda.
But we have a writer that was working on Guardians of the Galaxy who has now officially been hired by BioWare. In preparation for Mass Effect 4.
Okay. I like that. I like that. Because the Guardians of the Galaxy game story is banging.
Yes.
It's a shame that no one played that game, man. Because, again, you'll notice a trend with me. Games that Chris doesn't finish, but enjoyed the hell out of when he played it. And that's one of them. Absolutely adored that game, but just didn't get the love it deserved, and I don't know who's to blame for it, really. Do we blame Marvel's Avengers?
I think so. I think you have to, right? Because after that, no one thought that anything that Square Enix could make would be good. And then I remember the combat or the initial gameplay reveal, people were like, oh, it's probably going to be another games as a service. They didn't really know that it was going to be single player only, narrative focused. So I really do think that Avengers completely ruined any sort of reputation for Square Enix Marvel games. Now, this writer, her name is Mary DeMarro. Not only did she work on Guardians of the Galaxy, but she also worked on Deus Ex, the Human Revolution, which was the first of the reboots, which in my opinion is the superior of the two. So this is some massive writing talent going to BioWare.
Look, I gotta ask, and in case anyone couldn't tell, we are out of the weekly roundup phase. We're just chit chatting at this point. You gotta wonder, was there no one else that that the big wigs over there were just like, hey, maybe not Square? I feel like that was such a weird choice for them to take that pitch from. And I feel like games as a service, the whole live service idea on video games, I've never been a big fan of it. I'm not gonna hold back on that. I think there are just so few successes. It reminds you of the battle royale genre, which in a lot of ways is also the live service model, but just separating as a genre. Fortnite for a while was the big dog, And then, of course, you have PUBG, and then you have Apex, which is now kind of reigning supreme in a lot of ways, especially in the esports sphere. But I just think I love how we fixate on things in gaming. You know, we fixate on things that did really well. So now with this whole live service thing that is 100% definitely built on the back of Destiny.
Right.
I just think it's interesting that everybody wants to go there. It makes sense financially, right? You put a game out for $60, $50, and then people continue to dump money into it over the years as you add content and you add content. But at what level? At what point is at what point do you create a new game? At what point
Right.
do you start fixing the game as opposed to putting out new content? You know, I'm not a big fan of the live service model, but I I just was Square the only people? Were they the only ones that were like, hey, we could do a Marvel game?
So it only makes money if people are liking the game, right? And in Marvel's Avengers case, people seem to really enjoy the 10-hour campaign and then just completely give up on the game after that, for good reason too. Now, for all we know, maybe this is the game where Disney and Marvel approached Microsoft. Hey, do you want to make a live service game? And then notoriously, we know that Microsoft rejected that idea.
Yep.
For all we know, maybe this was the project, and maybe they saw the bones and they saw that it was a live service game, and Microsoft said, "Nah, we don't want our hands on this. This is going to be terrible. People are not going to like it." So maybe that's what happened. But unfortunately, games as a service is here to stay. A lot of people are just jumping on the bandwagon, and it's not the first time we've seen that with just publishers chasing trends. After Breath of the Wild came out, we've seen plenty of other publishers and studios trying to capture that same magic. For example, like Ubisoft with Immortals Phoenix Rising, which is good, by the way. But a lot of like the design philosophy we saw from Breath of the Wild has bled into a lot of other games, even games like From Software, Elden Rings.
My God.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but I don't think we're going to see the end of the games as a service, but I really hope that we see kind of a consolidation of that genre into games that would actually benefit from it instead of every game having a battle pass mechanic that doesn't really need it. Like, for example, games that you and I have played on stream, like Roller Champions. That game, in my opinion, would have benefited greatly if it was just a single release. We'll be updating with maps every now and then, but go play for the fun. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of it goes back to the conversation we had last episode, where gaming culture has changed. It's not about just playing for funds anymore. You have to feel that constant progression. You have to be rewarded for literally everything you do. And I don't know if I like that.
Agreed. 100% agreed. I don't know. I guess that's kind of like been my issue, like how structured everything seems. I remember gaming as always being like you never really knew what was coming next.
Mm-hmm.
So like you never knew what new game was coming, and I just feel like everything is almost so predictable nowadays. Whereas you get towards award season, reveal season, I guess you'd call it, E3 season, and you're gonna get a battle royale somewhere along the line. You're gonna get a shooter. You're gonna get some horror games, stuff like that. It's always bugged me out how recently gaming has become rather predictable. Like we know next year we're probably gonna get some GTA 6 stuff.
Yep.
Like that's just a minor example, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm
It's
over the consistency of gaming, if that makes sense in a not so weird
right.
way.
It's the eternal battle between shadow drops versus roadmaps, right? Like where nowadays people can't just be surprised about a content. They actually like clamor and they demand that publishers push out a roadmap. And if you don't push out a roadmap, I'm done playing your game. It's
Yeah.
kind of heartbreaking, honestly. It's like it's half the publisher being greedy, but I feel like it's also half like the player base being, I don't want to say toxic, but just very demanding. And I think you hit the nail on the head in last stream as well, where you said that we're getting what we asked for. We're getting what we deserve, really, with all this.
Yeah, it sucks. Like it
Yeah.
sucks. It's weird. This conversation depressed me a little bit. I don't know why. Like it just like you were talking, I was like, oh man, this sucks, dude. Like not like well, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm kind of in a bad way. It's just it's kind of like it's kind of like movies for me. We publishers and developers think they know what we want, but we're screaming at them what they want, and they just ignore us. Like, and that goes into other realms as well. It's not just movies and video games. But it's like we've told them like what we want from the Marvel's Avengers game. We've told them what we wanted them to tighten up, and they haven't done it. And also it's like proof in the pudding type stuff, right? Like you can see what works and what doesn't work, and you just feel like they don't do their homework. Right? Like Anthem was a gigantic failure. A lot of people say it was the content. A lot of people say, to a degree, it was the gameplay. Pardon. And then of course, there's the monetization aspect. At what point it's like looking at a sheet of paper that says, if you eat this, you will die. And you're staring at that, and you stare at it super, super hard. And the only thing that comes to mind is, nope, I won't die. Like, just no. We're telling you that it's not going to work. Like do something different. Change it up, and we'll buy your product. We want to buy your product. I wanted to like Marvel's Avengers, man. I remember when it first came out, it was announced. I was like, yo, this would be really cool. Sure, this trailer seems like it's really on rails. But, like, it could be really cool, But, like, yeah, they've all got butter faces. But, like, I just... Gaming's weird, dude. I love it so much. But every time, it's like, for every one thing about, like, the gaming that I love, there's another thing that comes up behind it that's just like, ugh, why'd they do that?
Listen, if EA got offered to make an Iron Man game with the gameplay that they've already had from Anthem, and you make it a narrative-based game, hell yeah. Listen, that would be amazing. We need more of a focus on singular experiences instead of some gigantic, expansive thing trying to be the next Fortnite. It's not going to happen. Chances are you are never going to reach that popularity. So just make it fun. Make it good.
Yes. You said so much. Everything you were saying was right. Like everything. Like, dude, and you gotta wonder: is there like, do they just like all hate each other, or is there some guy that like runs between the developers and they're like he like takes hands? He's like, stop that. Like, is there somebody who does this? Because like you would think somebody at Marvel sat back. Someone at Marvel has to be like a huge gamer. Kevin Feige had to have seen. Someone had to have shown him Anthem, man. Someone had to have shown him Anthem. There's no way that man wasn't sitting in the big chair over there right next to Mickey Mouse and Kathleen Kennedy. There's no way that he wasn't just sitting in his big chair and someone's like, bro, come look at this. And he saw it. And there's no way he wasn't like, oh, that's Iron Man, the game. Someone call those guys. We should work together. There's no way that didn't happen, bro. Like, and I just think about that in like so many different ways. Like, there's no way someone didn't see the Arkham games and wasn't like, oh, we could do that with Moon Knight. Because they're the same person. Like, oh my. There's so much potential, man. Like, you would think that it would be easier to get some games made. Like, right. You would... For Disney to just call up Bungie and be like, hey, make this, it'll be beautiful, and we will pay you. Like, why is that so freaking hard? Why is it so hard? You tell me. You know the stuff. You tell me. I need answers.
Listen, man, I really do think it just comes down to data analysis and all these publishers chasing the money, chasing the trends. We're treading the ground here. Basically, like, that is what it is. It's corporate greed for the most part. It's like focus grouping a movie to death. You know what I'm saying? It's like Rise of Skywalker compared to The Last Jedi. This is gonna be controversial as hell, but The Last Jedi, well, it subverted people's expectations. It did what it needed to do. It was just Ryan Johnson's vision, for better or for worse. I personally thought it was is one of the best Star Wars movies I've seen. Meanwhile, we have Rise of Skywalker that feels like it had no heart. It felt like it was just literally giving fans everything that they want. That's just it's how it is, not just with the movie industry, but as we're seeing with the video game industry. But now, since we are on the topic of Marvel video games, I want to bring up 3 different Marvel games, and I want you to rank them based on how hyped you are.
Ooh, okay? I like this game.
Okay, so
I like it.
Marvel's Midnight Suns, right? We have Marvel's Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
And Marvel's Wolverine.
So, like, just rank them from, like, hype level?
Yeah, just from high level.
All right, so what? It was Midnight Suns, their Wolverine game, and then what was the middle one? Spider-Man 2?
Yes.
Okay. This shouldn't be hard. So, my least excited, like, the one I'm least excited for is probably Spider-Man 2.
I knew it. I freaking knew it. I knew it.
But, like, maybe not for a reason you would expect, right?
Okay.
So I only say Spider-Man 2 because, of, you know, I kind of know what to expect from it a little bit, right? So we know we're getting Venom, we know Miles is coming into the game, stuff like that. So that's the only reason why. Those are the only reasons why. I'm excited about the game. I'm just not, you know, as excited as I could be for everything else. Next would have to be Midnight Suns. Mm-hmm. Super excited for Midnight Suns. Don't get it twisted. But I just it doesn't take my number 1 spot just because I'm not entirely sure if the gameplay is gonna bang.
Would it be higher if it didn't have a card system?
Maybe if it was specifically more like XCOM. If it was specifically more like XCOM, I don't want to say a carbon copy, but you know, took those things from XCOM that it should take. If it was more like that, I would 100% be more excited for it. So yes, the gameplay definitely takes a big factor into that. And Wolverine's gonna take that top spot. Come on, the developers, like they murdered Spider-Man. Like,
oh yeah,
they murdered it. They absolutely killed it. But like not even from a gameplay standpoint, because I trust them from that. Like, you know, I think they're gonna knock the gameplay out of the water. My thing is like, you know, what could they bring to the table as far as who all is going to be in this game, what it's going to be about, where it takes place. You know, are we gonna? My mind kind of goes to a what was that recent zombie game that was the PlayStation exclusive that starred the guy that did the voice for Darth Maul?
Days Gone.
Days Gone. I imagine some type of Days Gone meets Spider-Man vibe. You know, Wolverine on his motorcycle. Maybe taking place in Canada or like somewhere in the West. You know, something like that. The potential for the X-Men to be involved, you know, we could quickly get cameos from any of the X-Men, man. From a villain standpoint, you know, we can get Sabretooth, we can get the Wendigo, we can get shoot, depending on what storylines they want to go, we can get the Hulk. Like, we could get so much, man. And you gotta wonder why. Oh my god, you asked me this question, it's just gonna keep triggering me with Marvel's Avengers. Like, Jesus, man. You gotta wonder why they wouldn't just go to those developers and be like, hey, you just want to, like, have the Marvel games? You want to just have them literally all? You know, I think based off of the success that Wolverine could have, I think that could be a play. I really do. I really think that could be a play.
I agree. I completely agree. Now, it definitely would suck for Xbox gamers if they weren't able to play any of these Marvel games, right? But I mean, at least they're coming out on PC. I'm personally gonna definitely be getting Spider-Man day one on PC. I cannot wait for that 120 hertz web slinging. But yeah, dude, I mean, you're completely right. Wolverine, for me, I would also have it in the top spot, mainly because I think they can definitely do what they did for Spider-Man for Wolverine. With Spider-Man, they showed that they were really respectful to the source material while still being able to tell their own very kick-ass story that is kind of unlike anything we've seen really with Spider-Man. It still hits the same beats, the same heroicness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, real quick, I did ask you if Midnight Suns would be higher if it didn't have a card system. I'm going to ask you for Spider-Man 2 if it would be higher if they announced that the whole campaign was playable co-op with Miles Morales and Peter Parker.
Oh yeah, yeah. I feel like that's an easy question to answer. 100% yes. Like, of course, right? Like, who wouldn't want to be able to play as Miles at the same time? Like,
Right.
You know, you have your Miles and you have your Peter. Like, who wouldn't want that? That's an easy sell. That's such an easy sell. But they wouldn't do it because they're punks.
No. And it's also like something that I've seen Matthew and AJ Darkfire talking about in the chat over the last couple streams, but it feels like nobody really wants to make a dedicated co-op game anymore, except for the guys who make It Takes Two and what's that other game? A Way Out, the same developers.
Yeah.
It feels like no one else wants to touch co-op games, and it's sad. It's sad. But yeah, so now we've gone through this little game, and I want to ask you another question, if you will.
So many questions.
Let's see. So, which Marvel character that we haven't gotten yet in video game form do you think would most benefit or be the best, highest quality superhero game?
Do they have to be an MCU character, or does it just have to be a Marvel character, period?
Just any Marvel character.
That we haven't gotten a game yet for.
At least a modern one, you know?
Okay. So it's one of two for the same reason. X-Men or the Fantastic Four.
Okay, those are good options. Good options.
And I say that just because. So the Guardians of the Galaxy game was great, right? But I think the one thing it was missing was the co-op element. Did it need it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Perfect game without it. But just being able to like jump on with four of your friends and be able to play, you know, Drax, Rocket, Gamora in the background while everything was going on, that would have been insane, right? So I mean, with a lot of the teams in Marvel, and honestly the same for DC, with a lot of like hero teams, is the idea of being able to like team up and work together, and a lot of those stories are about, you know, the family element there. So especially when you're looking at the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, you know, these are the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four is Marvel's first family. They are, you know, an actual family. And then with the X-Men, they as well are an actual family. They all the trials and tribulations they go through, they share as a whole. So I think if those games were to happen, they would have to have that family dynamic. They would have to have, in my opinion, co-op dynamic. I wouldn't want to just be playing as, you know, Mr. Fantastic or just as Johnny Storm. I would want my friends to be able to pop on with me and, you know, go on these family adventures, because that's what the Fantastic Four is about.
I think you're right, man. Listen, like specifically those two groups would benefit very greatly from a co-op game. I feel like if you did single player, it would make sense if they kept it more in line with the Guardians of the Galaxy game, where you're basically able to control everyone's abilities and kind of like mix and match and stuff like that. But my personal answer would have to be Doctor Strange. And the reason why is because after seeing Ratchet and Clank, the newest game, and what they were able to do with some of those portals and just the next gen stuff, imagine that with Doctor Strange, bro.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah. No, you yeah, wow, yeah. You hit the nail on the head with that one. Oh my god. Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. I'd never even really thought about that. That would be absolutely stunning.
Yeah. Dude, like with next gen graphics and all that. Oh, sorry, current gen graphics and all that. It would be something to behold. I would love playing something like that. Maybe we'll get it in a couple years. Doctor Strange seems to be one of the I guess, tentpole franchises going forward into the MCU. So it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, him and Moon Knight, and this is pre MCU. So anyone out there listening that's just like, oh, that OG Goblin guy just likes what's popular. Like, no, that's not true. This is pre MCU. My two favorite heroes, for very different reasons, but it kind of blows my mind how we haven't gotten properties around some of these characters before anyway. And even in going into now, it's such a big thing. If the MCU was a thing in the early 2000s, oh, we'd have been had spin-off games, and we did. We got Iron Man 1 and 2 as from, I think, Treyarch. I think Activision, maybe. Actually,
I think you might be right.
Yeah, and then we got a Captain America game. No, we didn't get a Hulk game. I think that was it. I think that was the full extent.
I think we did get a Hulk game, but I don't think it's specifically tied into the movie.
No, it didn't. It wasn't an Incredible Hulk game. It wasn't an Edward Norton Hulk. It was just, a Hulk game. But I think it came out around the same time. No, we did get a Hulk game based off of the Eric Bana Hulk movie that we're not going to talk about. But yeah, wait, you look confused. You look bewildered.
Both the Iron Man video game and the Captain America video game published by Sega.
Yeah, that's weird. Like, that's weird. Oh,
and also, the Captain America game was one of the first 3D compatible games for 3D TVs.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna need a Owen Wilson wow button. But wow. But yeah, I had no idea. That's kind of crazy. That's pretty cool, actually. Okay. But yeah, those were the only ones we ever got. We got no other tie-ins. We were, and you can dig it up. You can find it. There was supposed to be a tie-in game with the Avengers. No, I take that back. I'm not necessarily sure how closely it was supposed to be with the MCU. You fought Skrulls in the game. You fought the Super Skrull. If you go to YouTube, just Google canceled, or YouTube canceled Avengers game, and you'll find footage of it out there. It potentially could have been something. It was a first person where you got to switch between like Hulk, Iron Man, and Cap. I think it was just those three. There's gameplay footage of it out there. It's definitely interesting. And I believe there's a little bit of history out there as well as to why it never happened. But you would think, given the popularity of this franchise, we would get more video game tie-ins or something. I'd like to think maybe it's down the road too, because with the Disney Plus stuff, they're obviously trying to branch different mediums together. So now they have the movies and they have the TV shows. So maybe they're just taking their time getting there, and somewhere down the line we're going to start getting other characters that they thought couldn't translate well into initially anyway into Marvel TV or Marvel movies into video games, and then start transitioning them in that way. Maybe we start getting other big events where, just as an example, a Silver Surfer game happens, and maybe when Galactus is introduced, we see Silver Surfer in the background, or that character pops up, and we would know his whole backstory through playing the game. Whether or not I think that's a good idea, I don't know. Some people would argue that the MCU is getting Kingdom Hearts convoluted, and you have to go through too many hoops to figure out what's going on. Personally, I would love it. That's just me. I'm entitled to my opinion. Everyone else, go screw yourselves.
So for those of you who are interested in that cancel the Avengers game, I've went ahead and found it. It's a Did You Know gaming video. I linked it in the chat if you're interested. But yeah, man, listen, they're also getting into Marvel podcasts now that you can find on Spotify. I've heard a little bit of the Wolverine Long Dark one that they have, and it's really interesting what they're doing. Listen, superheroes, Marvel's already super complicated. They have a bunch of different timelines, storylines, dimensions, all this crap. Just go wild with it, man. I want to see PS2 era game coming after game after game after game. Just be experimental. Have some fun with it. I feel like what has kind of limited that a lot has been just how difficult it has been to develop for the PS3 and the PS4, and the Xbox 360, Xbox One. Games have become a lot more convoluted, a lot more complicated, and it takes a lot longer to make a game. Now, when they announced these new gen consoles like PS5 and like Xbox Series, they've promised that those barriers of entry have gotten even lower. So maybe very soon we will be getting that just onslaught of video games. I truly do believe that next year it's possibly going to be like the biggest game in video. Oh, sorry, the biggest year in video game history. And maybe the floodgates open. Maybe we do get a Moon Knight game, please. Maybe we get a Daredevil game. Maybe we get I don't know, a Captain Marvel game, a Miss Marvel game. I guess that's what Avengers is. But I digress. You get the point I'm making.
Oh yeah, what would be interesting for me, just this conversation really sparked it for me, right? The idea of maybe to save the DC EU, maybe they just revitalize themselves into like the animated stuff in the video games.
That'd be so cool.
I think the DC stuff is so hard to translate on film. It's so hard. Yesterday, me and a friend of mine, I had him watch the Batman. He's probably the biggest Batman fan that I know. And I finally sat him down to watch the Batman. You know, it's kind of weird to even say that. The biggest Batman fan I know hasn't seen the Batman yet. Had his reasons. But finally sat him down to watch it. Loved it because it's perfect. And,
Right.
we got into talking about, where can they go with this and what can they do? Oh, well, they only have so many movies, so we'd have to do this, we'd have to do that. And it's like, that's the failings of movies, right? Actors age out. People lose interest really quick. You can only do so much before an actor is either tired of doing it, or, they kidnap a woman and her 3 children and hold them in their ranch home. Like, it only goes so far, right? So, try to keep myself composed for that one as long as possible. But that's the beauty of a video game, right? Like, as long as you're willing to commit your voice, we can do all this for as long as you want. Really, we age out, but yeah, not until you get like into your super old years does your voice really start to change, and even then, it's only so much. So, right. I would like to see a lot more video game franchises. Oh my gosh. What is a franch? What is a franch? Bear with me, everybody. Bear with me. I am Googling Franch just to see if it's a real word. Just to see if it's a real word. Maybe somewhere in my brain was trying to tell me something. Maybe. This is a moment that I want to share with all of you. No, Franch is not a real word. Don't know what that was. Don't know why. Many game franchises could benefit from telling a consecutive and coherent story through the medium of video games. I think they should do it. I think the DC stuff is going to be a really hard story to translate in film going forward unless they take that very grounded approach, because that's the difference between Marvel and DC. DC tries to tell the story of gods dealing with human problems. Marvel tries to tell the story of humans dealing with occasionally godlike problems.
Yep.
And I think it works so well for them because we're humans, and we can understand a human struggle. It's hard to understand Superman's struggle of feeling like anytime he does anything, he feels like he's gonna break it. It's hard to understand that.
Some extraterrestrial, like billions of light years away, probably picked up the copy of Man of Steel and is crying his eyes out because he relates with the story so hard. But alas, it's not going to happen here on this human Earth. But yeah, I think just it's weird as well, right? Because there's a lot of these big franchises that are strangely lacking with video games, like Star Wars. Like, we've only gotten like maybe 3 or 4 Star Wars games in the last 5 years that are really worth a damn. One of them being Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, one of the best Star Wars game of all time. It's weird that we're not getting more of that type. And maybe it was very difficult to develop for these last gen consoles. And hopefully we see something just pop off in the future. I mean, we are getting the Coda remake. We are getting Jedi Survivor. We are getting Wolverine, we are getting Spider-Man 2, and I believe, don't quote me on this, but EA, Ubisoft, and Microsoft have all been kind of tapped on the shoulder for a Marvel game as well. So yeah, hopefully the drought is over.
Those are some good devs to give us some superhero content. So I have a question for you now.
Sure.
A very interesting question for you, and I open this up to the chat as well. Anybody out there listening? Homelander versus Omni-Man versus Superman. Who wins?
Oh man, listen, I feel like anytime we talk about superheroes, I'm just gonna end up breaking. I don't know who Omni-Man.
You know, I figured you would be up on Invincible.
Oh, listen, so Invincible is on my radar. So The Boys. I'm only like maybe 5 or 6 episodes of The Boys, but I kind of want to say like probably Homelander, just from the little I know of him, without knowing Omni-Man, only because like he seems to not have any moral compass, and I feel like that would play to his advantage specifically versus Superman. You know what I'm saying?
All right, I'm gonna say this one time. Like, I'm gonna say it one time to you, internet. I'm gonna say it on here. I'm gonna say it, and I want everyone to come close. I want everybody to come really, really close and hear me as I say this. Y'all gonna stop disrespecting Clark Kent like he's not the GOAT. All right? Y'all gonna stop disrespecting Clark Kent like he is not the GOAT. I don't care if it's Superman. I do care if it's Superman. I don't care if it is Omni-Man, Homelander, Goku, Broly, the Hulk,
French,
the Sentry, Homer Simpson. I don't care who you think it is. I don't care. They will not be defeating Superman today. They won't be defeating Superman tomorrow. And they will not be defeating Superman anytime before then. The man solos your favorite verse. And if you can prove to me definitively that he can't, I'll take it all back. But no one can prove to me that Superman, Clark Kent, okay, cannot be the greatest, the GOAT. All right? Homelander. What's a Homelander? What's a king to a god?
Listen, you're saying not even Kingdom Hearts Donald Duck can beat Superman?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. And I understand the importance of what you just asked me. But understand something. Superman is cracked, okay? Superman is broken, all right? I understand you don't know who Omni-Man is. That's fine. But, like, bruh, Superman is dummy strong, bro. He's dummy strong. Just as an example, Omni-Man from Invincible, it took Omni-Man, who is a Viltrumite. Viltrumites, they're supposed... Omni-Man, of course, he's another Superman clone. Viltrumites are supposed to be, like, Kryptonians, only they're, like, a strong warrior race. The older they get, the stronger they are. It took 3 Viltrumites. One super old, one was Omni-Man, and another one to destroy a planet. Superman did it by himself while he was deprived of sun, deprived of sun, in a weakened state. All he did was jump off the planet. He didn't put any extra effort into it. He just jumped.
Listen, I think when it comes to Superman, it's just like people get tired of greatness. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are no longer talking about Michael Jordan as much as being the greatest of all time. You know what I'm saying? People get tired of seeing people just obliterate. And I think that's what's happening with Superman. People have acknowledged he is the greatest of all time, but it's boring for them now. They want that new thing to replace him with.
We say that, but then you have all your anime dudes coming in with the, oh, but Goku solos, or Aizen solos, maybe not Aizen, I don't know. Like, whoever from whatever anime. You anime people sicken me. Someone said All Might defeats Superman. Shut up. Like,
Oh my goodness!
Shut up! Shut up!
Oh
All
my
Might.
God, man.
I love All Might. All right, I love my hero. Look, we're not gonna do this. All Might is mid, bro. All Might is mid. If you think All Might can defeat Superman, Goku, I get. I understand why people say Goku. Goku overcomes, like, you know, Goku, all this other stuff. But, like, y'all don't understand the bounds that Superman has broken. He's boundless. He's boundless, man. Like,
That's true.
Anime people and their power scaling are weird. Like, they only benefit from the fact that, you know, anime writing is consistent. You know, you don't have many other people coming in to write Dragon Ball or write Bleach or write whatever. It's the one writer, that's their baby, they're taking care of it, you know, they write it as it needs to be, so they benefit from that. And I completely understand, you know, the disadvantage that especially Marvel and DC characters have, because they're written by so many different people. So their strength a lot of times, or their feats a lot of times, are determined entirely by, you know, what they need to accomplish for the day. Usually they don't get like some new groundbreaking power, like all of a sudden Superman can now like snap his fingers and obliterate buildings specifically, very specifically. Although I'm sure he could, but but you know, I think that's the benefit for anime writers. But at the same time, you know, I just don't think they're on par with comic book writers, because you can literally, Batman's a great example, right? Because with Batman, what the joke is that Batman, all he needs is prep time, and sometimes he doesn't even need prep time. There was if you know anything about like Batman specifically, the latest contingency is the Hellbat armor. There's a comic where the Justice League gets brainwashed and they all come for him, and he's just ready. He's just ready. You know, being blitzed by Wonder Woman and the Flash, he's just ready. The Flash is the fastest being in existence. Okay? Batman is a dude from Jersey. like you can't blitz. You can blitz the guy, and he's ready. So I mean, comic book characters, they're OP for a reason.
Right. Right. I think you have made me realize that maybe the Star Wars sequel trilogy should have just been an anime. You know, just have that consistent writing.
That would have been great to watch.
Oh, sir. Do you wanna move into Miss Marvel while we're on this topic of superheroes?
Sure, it's just a superhero day, I guess. Like,
it is.
Oh no, we haven't been able to get off that topic now for about an hour.
There's a lot to talk about, man. It's just fun too. You know what I'm saying?
Right? I gotta like turn you into like a comic head. Like I gotta
Bro,
really get you in there.
Send me all the comics. I am telling you, like you. Still working through that collection. Bro. Send me all the comics. I would love to be a comic head. I just never had anyone to like introduce me. And at this point, I go onto the internet and I'm like, oh, what should I read? It's just a bunch of different recommendations. So I need the essential OG Goblin comic book collection. I don't care if it's freaking Marvel, if it's DC, or if it's that weird third party one that I always forget the name of that writes The Wolf Among Us and that type of stuff. But yes.
I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you live on air. The comic that really got me into comics, that like started my downward spiral into insanity, was Civil War.
Civil War?
Yeah, I remember being a kid. It was the summer that the first issue came out. So I couldn't tell you the year exactly, but it was the summer the first issue of Civil War came out. And I was visiting my aunt in New York, and we went to, we were out on the town, and I had her drop me off at this comic shop. And the three comics that I picked up, God, was it 3 at the same time? I might have picked up the Moon Knight run that I'm familiar with at another time. But I picked up, at the same time, Civil War and Marvel Zombies. Interesting. Yes. And I say those two specifically just because I think as an entry point, it introduces you to a lot of characters at once. A whole lot of characters at once. Here it is. So the Moon Knight run that I'm specifically referring to, I wish I could show it on the screen. Oh God, is it? Okay, no, it's not Midnight Mission. So the Moon Knight run that I'm specifically referring to is the Moon Knight 2005 run by Charlie Huston and David Finch. Iconic art of Moon Knight right there. It's some of the oh my God, some of the art there is just absolutely astounding for me. It's probably the thing that actually completely sold me. But as a matter of fact, real quick, just so I can have a testament to what I'm trying to say here, if it doesn't take me too long to grab it. If it takes me too long, I'm just going to come back and sit back down. I know you can't see me right now, but you can see me. Here it is. There we go. So just to show it off, just to show that it's real, I still have it to this day. An original copy. It's beat to hell at this point, but an original copy of that Civil War comic that I'm telling you about. And it's so dope to me, and it's a point for me to say, like, hey, do this as your first run, because there's so many characters in this. You get the X-Men, you get Luke Cage, you get the Fantastic Four. If you've never, it may be a little overwhelming because, you know, it's throwing a lot of people at you at once, and especially the storyline. If you know the movie, then you know it's kind of the same shtick, Superhuman Registration Act, but I think you will understand why you could say that it was kind of a letdown in the movie for fans of this particular comic, because in the comics it went so deep. It hit everybody. If you had superpowers, it hit everybody. And in the MCU right now, we had maybe like 15 plus superpowered individuals. In the comics, you're dealing with all of them, whether it's the Fantastic Four, which were already trying to be regulated by the government. Pardon, the X-Men, which are already trying to be regulated by the government. The Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Captain America, Luke Cage, She-Hulk, the Fantastic Four. Everybody was going through it in Civil War. It was not just this kind of super small thing. So I could definitely send you the checklist of what you need to pick up. It's right there in the back of the book, which is really cool. But yeah, July 1st. Wow, actually, okay, not July 1st, but definitely published in July of 2006. So I would have picked up Moon Knight, Marvel Zombies, and this at the same time. Marvel Zombies is also cool, as in it introduces you to a bunch of characters, some that you might find interesting. Of course, they're all zombies, but those are great starting points, man. I would say definitely pick those up.
Nice. I'm excited for that. I've heard a lot of good things about the comic edition of Civil War. It sounds to me like the Smash Ultimate of comic books. Everyone is there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it changed things as far as like the comic landscape. It's still actually dealing with a lot of those problems in some places. So definitely pick that up. And the art as well is just, oh my God, it's just disgusting.
I'm also seeing the cover for the Moon Knight Omnibus by Houston, Benson, and Hurwitz. It's freaking 1,100 pages, almost 1,200 pages, and the art style, at least for the cover, looks insanely good.
Yeah,
it looks so good. Oh my God! Listen, I'm gonna be having a fun time tonight, getting all this in my wish list as soon as I can. I will be getting these. Listen, make me a comic head. That would produce better content for Geeks and Goblins probably going forward. You know,
maybe. To be specific, it's called Moon Knight Volume 1. The Bottom is the series that I read.
The Bottom. Okay.
Yeah, as well. So there's a paperback of it as well. So dig into that, man. Moon Knight's a super interesting character. Super interesting character. And so Civil War, I think, will kick you off at a good spot.
Okay. Sounds good. Speaking of kicking off at a good spot, Moon Knight. Wow, look where my head is after all this talk about Moon Knight. Miss Marvel episode 4 review kicked off from a fairly important episode. We got some very interesting stuff this time around. OG Goblin, what did you think of the episode, man?
Kamala Khan strikes again with another fantastic episode.
Yep.
It was really good.
Yep.
It was really good. Maybe my second favorite of the season. Maybe my second favorite of the season. Maybe my first favorite. Or my favorite, I guess, would just be the word there. But, you know, it was nice to see her in Pakistan. It was really dope to see her there. You know, Marvel continues to just punch us in the face with culture, and they continue to not hold back and just, you know, show you what it is. And I'm, as always, so here for it. Keep doing that. Bring culture into my comic books. It's always been there. So just show it to me.
Just show it.
You know, bring us into Pakistan. Her grandmother, a fantastic character to introduce us to. The Red Daggers, very interesting group. I believe the Red Dagger, as you know, everyone has to have a specific name. I believe Kareem is the young one that she runs around with. Really nice character. Their interactions were really good. You know, I feel like there's a lot to talk about in this episode, but there's also not a lot to talk about in this episode. You know, I watched it the one time, and it's not that I didn't like it. I very much liked the episode, but it wasn't an overly memorable episode.
No. Especially when, like, most of the episode was taken up by, in my opinion, a very tropey, kind of boring chase sequence. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really much to advance the story as a whole. We did see a lot of heartwarming moments where we saw, again, Iman Vellani just kicking ass as Kamala Khan, bringing life to that character, showing herself not just as an aspiring superhero, but also just a girl just trying to, like, you know, learn who she is. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of that family stuff. Again, second episode in a row that I'm going to say Dominic Toretto would have been really happy with this one. But yeah, I just, now that we talk about it and I'm reading this recap talking, it just, not much really happened. This is what, 4 paragraphs of a recap, whereas the other episodes have been like 6 or more. Yeah. I mean, listen, so I'm going to say right now that my review episode is a 3.5 out of 5. Okay. It is my lowest of the season so far, but I also, you know, I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was good. It advanced certain storylines, mainly the familial and cultural storylines. Just, it felt kind of sloppy from the way that the clandestines escaped from the Department of Damage Control, from that chase sequence, just. And the fact that we not only saw the clandestines escape and also go to Pakistan within the same episode.
In the same episode.
Like, I thought, like, we would have at least gotten one more episode before we would have gotten that, but I guess not. I don't know. The pacing felt weird. Some of these characters that they wanted us to, you know, care about, like the leader of the Red Daggers, I forget his name. I think Waleed.
Yes, it's Waleed.
Waleed, so he got killed like halfway through the episode. Like, I didn't really care. It was like another Wade thing, you know what I'm saying, from Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Feel that.
It didn't give me much of a reason to care about what was going on. I feel like there was very high stakes. I didn't ever really think that Kamala was in danger or anyone around her was in danger. As soon as they introduced this really cool Red Dagger figure that they're definitely going to be making a lot of money off of from merchandising, I knew that he was probably safe. So yeah, it felt like a safe episode. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. This show doesn't need to be banger episode after banger episode. I've loved what I've gotten so far, but it is definitely my least favorite so far of what we've gotten.
I can see that, and I can definitely understand that. You know, I do agree with you. I would give it like a 3.5 or a very low 4. While I did enjoy the episode, it's definitely not my favorite. It's definitely not my favorite. Just because it does a lot of things that it kind of can't help. You know, that has been a driving question right now between, you know, Miss Marvel and Obi-Wan and all the other Disney Plus shows right now, you know, like 6 episodes is a very, very tight way to have to tell a story. Just as an example as to what 8 episodes could do as opposed to 6 episodes, as well as good writing, that needs to be pointed out as well. It has to be a well-written show. And this is a recommendation. It's very off the rails for what we typically talk about here on the show. But I just recently watched a Hulu original called The Bear. And, oh my absolute God, it is the best piece of TV that I have watched this year.
Oh, geez.
Every season of every show that we have gotten this year be damned. Like, every show that has come out this year for Marvel or Star Wars be damned. It is the best piece of television that I have seen this year. And it's probably going to stay that way for the rest of the year, if we're going to be completely honest. If I'm going to be completely honest. But same format, right? Limited series. 8 episodes as opposed to 6. 30-minute long episodes, which is already shorter. All these episodes tend to be around like 40 minutes roughly, right?
Yep.
To an hour, some of them. But all under about 30. One episode I think was 20. And then the final episode, you know, kind of pushed for a longer episode. But it told the story it needed to tell in 8 episodes. It gave us strong characters, strong character development, and it wrapped everything up so nicely for a next season. And, you know, there are different factors to that, right? This is a show that is an original show. It doesn't have anything that it's drawing from, so it can tell the story that, you know, the creator wants to tell at its own pace. So it has that benefit. So I do acknowledge that for these Marvel and Star Wars shows. But at the same time, you know, you gotta slow down with some of these stories, and you got to make them more personal. And I think Miss Marvel did that very, very well up until this point, where, you know, its ending is drawing closer and closer. So we have to get closer and closer to ending that story.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I didn't even really think about it until you just said it. It didn't really feel like any of these other episodes that we've gotten. It felt more kind of like the focus was all over the place instead of just on Kamala Khan. They introduced so many different characters, so many different aspects. Just, I don't know, man. Like, the more I think about it, the more I'm disappointed with this episode. Now, that's not to say that I didn't enjoy it, because of course I did. 3.5 is still a good review score. But I just really hope that the next couple episodes aren't just rushing to a finale. They're not just rushing to this big cameo by Nick Fury, maybe, who knows. And I really hope they're not rushing to tie this story that we've gotten to the grander MCU. Because what I've really enjoyed about these last 3 episodes prior to this one, just how different it felt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas this episode felt too much like that Marvel formula that we've gotten for the last 10.
So I think that's the dangerous territory with Miss Marvel, though, right? So, I mean, let's compare to Moon Knight, where with Moon Knight, we knew, well, pardon, I guess you could say we didn't know going into it what Moon Knight was supposed to tie into. We knew Moon Knight was coming, and the question was, where does this all lead to in the greater MCU? As it stands right now, nowhere. Still, we don't really know what Moon Knight meant for the MCU. But with Miss Marvel, coming into episode 1, there's the question, how is this going to fit into the Marvels? Because we do know that Kamala Khan is going to appear next in the Marvels alongside Miss Marvel and hopefully Photon. So that's the question, right? That's the difference that separates this show from that show. With this show, you have to sit back and you have to ask, they have to rush to explaining where it's all going to fit in, because we're going to get the Marvels before we get a Miss Marvel season 2. So you gotta set up for that, you know, or, you know, you at least have to go into the Marvels knowing where Miss Marvel is. So you're rushing to that end game when, you know, you only get about 3 episodes to really lay a foundation. After you get past episode 3, you kind of got to get there, you know, you've got to tell the rest of this story. And if you haven't done a good job laying that out, those last 3 episodes, I won't even say three, the last 2 episodes, that's when the pace is going to start really picking up and you're going to start seeing some weird inconsistencies. I wouldn't have minded, personally, if the Clandestine had been introduced episode 1.
Yep.
You know, give us get us closer to that in episode 1, so that way we can maybe understand that foundation a little bit. Like, do they have money? I think the idea is that, you know, they've been around for so long that they've accrued some level of wealth, but, you know, they all seemed to be living together in this one house in Jersey, or at least just there for the time being, and then, you know, they escape from a very floppy escape, a very weird escape from the Department of Damage Control. Very weird, very sloppy. Why are there only 2 guards? Their powers are also not entirely clear to me. If they have powers, which it seems like they have powers, but
it's implied, really, right?
Tell, like, they have weapons, and they seem trained, but, like, what's their deal? Like, we know nothing about them, and I think that's something else that specifically Marvel does that's really odd. They pick random ass characters sometimes to just throw at us that are just, and then they just make them really generic.
Yeah, I remember watching that floppy escape sequence with Friendly Feline, and I remember her comment like, "Those people should have never been hired for the Department of Damage Control," and it's so true. Like, how are you easily gonna get dispatched that way? They were already freaking like in cuffs and with their hands all the way up. How do you not have? Whatever. I digress. I don't know how I feel about the clandestines right now. I think that they, as far as villains go, they're very, very weak. Not threatening at all. I'm not scared about them at all. That's kind of like brought to life with that sequence after the chase scene where it was the Red Dagger and Kamala just like getting ready, like they were Power Rangers, ready for those people to just go through the freaking curtains and stuff like that. It's like, come on, man, like you're not making me feel worried at all.
Yeah.
So it's just the first couple episodes, there was like, we didn't know where things were going, but at this point it's starting to turn more into just like a generic action adventure flick, and I really hope that the next 2 episodes don't feel more like that. I really, really hope so.
I couldn't agree more. And, you know, you said 2 things that kind of made me like think. First and foremost, I had the same issue last episode. The fact that she's just still being able to go toe to toe with these decades-old people that appear to be trained combatants and appear to be powered, and just stand her ground is mind-blowing to me. Yep. Like, I get that she's, you know, getting a little bit more of a hold of her powers, but excuse me, it's just there's just no way. She should be dead from her brother's wedding. She should be. I'm sorry. Like, she should be. I don't feel like this is her arc that we needed. We needed a training arc, man. We really needed a real training arc. And I think a big part of, you know, this episode was supposed to be the idea that, you know, her time with the Red Dagger, she understood her powers a little bit more, or at least understood herself a little bit more, and maybe received a little bit of training. But realistically, at least I think, Kareem should have killed her when she went to the train station. He's a trained killer. Like, he's an actual trained killer. To my understanding, she should be dead. Like, I don't understand. And that's so weird for me, man. Like, and that just to piggyback off of that, I feel like that's something that all comic book movies, for the most part, are having trouble doing, and that's that, like, suspension of disbelief as far as, you know, what we're presenting to the audience. So that goes for, even with, specifically, I would even say the Batman movies. I feel like we get so many of your regular dude Batman villains for the simple reason that they feel like the audience can't handle the weirdness, right? So we've gotten Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul. We've gotten Ra's, we've gotten the Joker, we've gotten the Riddler, we've gotten Scarecrow. We've gotten a very, very watered down Bane. And you know, for the most part, they're all humans. They're just regular people. They don't have any powers. They're just either highly trained or highly crazy. But you know, give us that weirdness a little bit. I'm waiting for a Clayface in a Batman movie, or a Mr. Freeze, or someone else like that. I feel like we're at the point now where we've gotten so many of these Marvel movies, and we're in the generation of Guardians of the Galaxy and Multiverse of Madness and Doctor Strange and all this other weirdness that you can even get on Netflix and Hulu, that we should be able to get some villains that, you know, we can actually tell what's weird about them. We should be able to,
Right.
or what they're about. The same can be said for Moon Knight. Like, Arthur Harrow exists in the comics, but not to the extent at which we got him in Moon Knight. We should have gotten Bushmaster for Moon Knight. So get that real origin story, or even switch it up, but give us Bushmaster. You know, give us established characters, despite how awkward or weird they are. We should be able to handle that now. And I feel like that's just kind of another thing we've got with the Clandestine here. If you Google them, they don't look like how they look in Ms. Marvel. They just turn them into generic random dudes. And I hate generic random dudes, man.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I really do. Just, man, I don't know. I feel like for so long now we've been getting a lot of these just generic people. It's time for something new, and I feel like maybe they might be holding off until the big ensemble movies, maybe the big Phase 5 movies. It is time to start getting weird, and I think they may already know that, but who knows? As far for this episode, after this weird anticlimactic fight, we get a very cheesy shot where it's, I forget her name, but the leader of the clandestines taking a dagger to the bracelet. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
it just explodes, and then all of a sudden Kamala is pulled back into what we assume to be the past, going back to the partition of 1914, I believe was the year. And we get to see what that was like. And I'm not gonna lie, that was probably the most interesting part of the episode for me. We were seeing a lot of interactions between families, and that really did tug at my heartstrings. I'm like, wow, you know, this does seem brutal. Having families just ripped apart like this, it reminded me a lot of just a lot of periods of time. I mean, I know the partition actually happened, but just reminds me of my own family in Cuba. It reminds me of my family in Germany back when it was East and West Berlin. Just that, I think it was really well done, and I'm interested to see how much that's going to play in a role in the next episode. But I have a feeling that we're probably going to get that for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then the rest of the episode is going to be back in the modern.
Oh no, I'm gonna challenge that and say that we're more than likely gonna get. I wouldn't be surprised if we get half, if not the whole episode, taking place in that time frame, and then we get jumped back, and then episode 5 kicks things back. If not half, my money's on half, not the whole. Let me just put it that way. And yes, that does, the climax of that episode does end up being the most interesting part of the episode. You know, seeing that time. Seeing her jump back in time and seeing something like that. And I think you kind of see it on her face a little bit, you know, as she starts to slowly realize where she is. And I'm sure that could be a traumatizing thing. That's history. You know, that's something that a lot of us don't have the luxury of seeing, or, you know, we don't get to see we don't get to see how we ended up where we are.
You're right.
None of us ever will, you know, like that's the kind of magic of these types of shows and in comic books. They can explore that kind of thing in that way. But, you know, it's interesting to see her displaced like that and see what that's going to do for her. I wonder if they're going to play a little bit into as well something her cousins were doing for the whole episode, you know, bringing up the fact that she's, you know, an American, the American girl, you know, the curious American girl, or the helpless American girl, you know. I think it is going to be interesting to see if we see Kamala become more, I guess you could say, in tune, or, appreciative of her culture. Not to say that she hasn't been until now, but typically those types of time jumps also do well for a character to, make them appreciate and understand where they came from and what that means to them and help them grow. So it's going to be interesting to see if that happens with Kamala. But yes, definitely the climax of that episode, which is sad because it was only about 2 minutes, was the most interesting part of the episode.
Yeah.
Very boring chase scene. Very, very boring chase scene. Very campy chase scene at that. How did they
need
get
to
to Pakistan so quick? I don't know.
They need to stop with these chase scenes. Disney has done this with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they've done this now with Miss Marvel. And they've done it with freaking Moon Knight. Like, that part of Moon Knight, if you remember me saying this episode, was my least favorite part of Moon Knight.
I feel like you just don't like running. That's what I'm starting to feel like.
I feel like it's a trope that's been overplayed, and there's not really much you can do that's unique. It's not interesting anymore. It's just people running. Like, if you're running from something and it has a purpose, or if you're doing some really cool stuff along the way, or if you're taking like a break to have some sort of like character to character development while like being chased by something, if you add a little bit of suspense to it, you can do something interesting. But when it's just straight up action, oh, look at all this stuff getting destroyed. Oh, you see that guy's watermelon stand? It's gone. That guy does not make a living for the rest of his life. He's going to die homeless. Like, nah, bro, come on. Do something a little bit more unique.
Agreed. I don't know what it could be though, but I completely agree. Also, I guess like, so the channel that I'm looking at right now for like just recap stuff is kind of like freaking me out a little bit. Not freaking me out, but it's just like, it has a picture of Kamala holding the dagger while she's in the train station with the mask on, and I'm just like, there's no way no one would know that's not Kamala. Like, the MCU, man, I think that's gonna be like the biggest thing for me. Always gonna be the biggest thing. It's the whole like, Clark Kent is only Clark Kent if he has the glasses on. Then he's Superman. Like, that's always gonna be my thing, man. Like, dude, get a mask. Like, if her mom just turned the corner, she would 100% be like, Kamala, what are you doing? Like, there's no like, who's that? Like, I'm sorry. In the MCU, it's more of a movie problem than it is an MCU problem. The need to show the actor's face. You have to show the actor's face, and the mask has to stay on. This one's different, though, because her mask is, even in the comics, literally just the domino mask. So, I mean, dude, figure it out. Because that is not a secret identity. She's not safe from anybody. If someone filmed that and it ended up on TikTok, someone would be like, oh, that's Kamala. She's from Jersey. She's from Jersey. I don't know. That's a complete sidebar. Not a stab, not taking a point away from it. But with that said, yes. Not my least favorite episode. Actually, I guess, I take it back from the beginning episode. From this. I guess it is my least favorite episode. There were too many faults for me, and it just wasn't like drawing me in. So, yeah, I give this episode maybe a 3, not even a 3.5. I give it a solid 3. Hopefully, we can slow it down or pick up the pace, one or the other, in the next 2 episodes. Get a more coherent story and something more serviceable. But if the next 2 episodes are going to be like this, then I'm probably checked out on Miss Marvel.
Yeah, same. I agree, and it would be a shame because I've loved everything we've gotten up to this point. It felt unique. It had that heart. It had that charm, and I feel like this episode just lost a lot of that. But who knows? Maybe you'll pick back up next episode. I really hope so. Here's the hoping. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. That's our time. That is our time, my friend. I like just being able to chit chat and talk. Yeah, same. I feel like it feels more natural, and we end up talking about what we want to talk about anyway. So yeah, I would love to see this keeping going. Maybe we can get a little bit of feedback from the audience, from the chat, from Discord. See if people like this. Yeah, just absolutely. We will let people know. But before we go, I do have an announcement to make. Something that I've been hiding from you as well. Oh shit! Okay. Yes. No, this is CEO shit. This is some high level stuff right here. So if you're here with us, if you're in the audience,
and for those watching, I'm happy to announce and very proud to announce that my Angry Birds commercial is out. If you are on Snapchat or Instagram or YouTube, you will see an Angry Birds commercial. Hopefully, God, I can finally talk about this out loud. I was under NDA for so long, but I can finally talk about it. My Angry Birds commercial is out. Please, if you see it out there in the wild, please record it, send it to me, do something so I can see it. So I don't have to email the recruiter that I talked to ask them if I can get a copy. But I have another announcement, a bigger announcement. It's a twofer. All right? That wasn't even really the announcement. That was just for funsies. That was to make the person sweat a little bit. All right? I have a real legitimate announcement, ladies and gentlemen. It's real, it's actual, it's factual. I am proud to announce, as the founder of Goblin Gang Entertainment, the CEO of Goblin Gang Entertainment, I am happy to announce and super excited and super proud to announce the acquisition, the announcement of our latest member of the team, Azu Azalea, will be joining Goblin Gang Entertainment officially as our in-house merch and artist person, as well as giving us no commentary gameplay for all of the latest new games right here on Goblin Gang Entertainment on YouTube. Starting next month, she will be giving us a straight all the way through gameplay of Stray.
Yo! Hey, listen, this is a long time coming. Azu, welcome to the team. The Goblin... excuse me. God, I got caught up in the excitement there. The Goblin Gang grows. Triple G, baby.
The Goblin Gang grows. That's what it... Ooh, hashtag Goblin Gang grows. I was looking for something. I was thinking about it. Oh, boy, there she goes in the chat. Like, she didn't say all that. Oh my gosh. Do you have any words? Do you want to come on and say something? You don't have to get on camera, but you want to come and say something to the people? Potentially? This is why she's giving us no commentary gameplay. This is exactly why it's happening this way. But yes, if you're in the chat, if you hear this, she says hi. Oh my god. If you're in the chat, or if you catch this announcement later on, please give some love in the Discord on Twitter. Her formal announcement stuff will be going up tomorrow. But what better place to announce it here? We're very excited to have her to the fold. We can't wait to see what she brings to the channel. It's going to be a right good time. The exploited artist of GGE. Oh my goodness. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to peace on out of here. Another episode of Goblin Gang, Geeks and Goblins. Utopian Revolt, tell the people where they can find you. What are you doing next?
So, a lot of people may have seen my Twitter, seen that I didn't actually stream my BioWare Friday. What was it? Today's Saturday? I didn't stream it yesterday. I instead will be streaming it tomorrow to make up for it. I know a lot of people have been asking me when I'm going to stream Coder again, and it's going to be tomorrow. I don't know exactly what time tomorrow, so feel free to follow me. I'll have more information there, and you can always catch me on the Goblin Gang Entertainment Discord. And next next Tuesday I'm going to be streaming. I don't know what I'm going to be streaming yet. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions, but Tuesday I'm definitely going to be streaming at 10 p.m. and then next Friday we'll be back on our regular BioWare Friday schedule.
There we go, and you will catch me here as well on next Monday, this coming Monday. No, I'm sorry, no, not Monday. My entire schedule is changing. Right. So if you want some OG Goblin content, you will catch me beginning on Wednesday. We'll be getting back into our Cyberpunk playthrough. That'll become a more consistent thing. I missed this week because I wasn't feeling too well, but we'll be back. We'll get into episode 2 of our Cyberpunk playthrough, and then you will see me again, likely on Sunday. It'll be Wednesdays and Sundays for me, I think. That is when you'll see me in, again, just like Utopian Revolt will be something. It'll maybe be some Valorant, maybe pick up something else. Not too sure just yet, but I'm going to play it, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to have some fun. But until that time, thank you all for joining us here on Geeks and Goblins for another fantastic stream. Let us know what you think of the new format, if you'd like to see it kept going, or if you want it back the old way. Bring back the old ways. Tell us. Hashtag bring back the old ways. Something. I don't know. Just put it in a chat somewhere. I'll see it. With that said, good night, folks. Have a good night. Go forth. Prosper. Go play something. Go watch something. Go be sick. Go heal. You know, watch out for fireworks. They sound like gunshots sometimes. Don't be sick. Don't be sick. If you're sick, go heal. Go see a doctor or something. Go do something about that. It's not all right. You'll make everybody else sick. Stop it. Good night.